Just before we go on with the scenery, I showed you these pieces of foam core that I've cut out for the scenic break, which will be a bridge. Now, I've had a look at a few pictures on the internet, and with the bridges, you'd normally have a concrete beam across this section. So I've cut another piece of foam core here. Now this one will sit above here. Also, to protect the pedestrians, a wall will be built as well. So this is in HO scale, so that's a 5 foot high wall, which is plenty enough. That will all be covered in Scalescenes brick paper, as you can see here. Sorry about that if it's a little bit blurry. But this section, whoops, I'll pick that up again. The section that spans the actual bridge here. Now, being concrete, I've gone through all my Scalescenes kits, and on the free small goods store download, there's a nice strip of concrete, which I'll show you now. Excuse me. Which is this section here. Now, the darker grey bit at the bottom here, the stain looking concrete, will be along this face here. The rest will be folded over. Being a narrow bridge, you're not going to see any of the road or anything like that. It's purely a scenic break, so you can't see the fiddle yard, or I should say the fiddle stick. Anyway, I'm going to get onto this, and I'll get back to you shortly with the results. What I have here will be the top of a bridge, so you'll have the wall there and your couple of piers on each side. In between there will be fencing, chain wire fencing. What I will be doing is on these sections through here, the top of the wall, the top of the lower sections of the wall there will be soldier course brickwork. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if you can see that there, but there's a soldier course through there. That'll be wrapped over the top. So if there is some white showing on these sections at the moment, I'm not too fussed. The main thing is to wrap it around the brick piers here, wrap it around the walls, wrap it over the top of the wall and down the other side, so you can't see any of the white. It's not that hard to do, it's quite easy. So I'm going to get onto it right now, and this is how we do it. First up, what I'm going to do is just cut along here, right through to the other side, back the other way on the paper. Now I'm not too worried about folding anything over that. Same on this side. Sorry about my hands being in the way, it's hard to do this. I've actually got the phone sitting up on a small chair and a little ledge. As such, that'll enable me now, once I cut up through here, I'm going to take that all the way to the end, through here as well, and what I'll do, I'll just come back past here a little bit further and run up through there and take that right off to that corner there. What that does now is allows me to fold these flaps back and forth over, well, that's not cut right through, over the pilasters there, or the piers. So when I take that, just open that right up, I can fold that back over and glue that into position. What I will do is use either a pencil or another piece of foam core that I've cut off, and I can actually burnish that onto the one side first. Now what you see here is the back side of the wall that won't be seen. So by folding it back over this way, folding that back over, now you will have to trim these down. So there's no major overlap. As you can see across there, if I pull that tight through there, just push it down, there is quite a bit of material there. So I will take a piece of that off through there. I don't need it. Fold that over, glue it in position, do one side, then flip the other side back over. Same goes for this wall here. What I'll do up the top though is cut that away on us. I'll cut that straight through there, but only start from this corner here, up like so, and back across that way parallel. So that'll enable me now to fold that piece over and fold the top back that way. Now it's imperative that you fold the top first and cover the corner. That way when you're looking around the model you don't really see anything. Another way to hide that ugly join there is to actually put a cut through on a slight angle, like such. Just get rid of that piece of material, fold that over and fold that through. And what we've done there, we've concealed that join there, you can hardly see it. Now like I said, this side here will be the back side, so I'm not worried if the paper doesn't run all the way down there, although this strip of paper here will fold back up and over. Well, I hope that explains everything to you and shows you how easy it can be done. And if you're ever going to have a go at the Scalescenes papers and all that, it's fun to do. There is a free download kit you can try anyway. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Hey, we're here back again. As you can see, I've started on the ballasting and also put some soil down on top of the scenery, on top of the board. I've done the soil first. Now it's quite loose there, but what I've done is just used a 1-inch wide paintbrush, painted the whole lot with PVA. Then through a fine sieve, like this one here, I've taken some fine soil that I've dried, oven dried, then grated down, just with an old food style grater, as you can see here, just to get a nice fine grain. That is then sprinkled over the top. Now I've let that sit there to dry. As you can see, when I move it here, you can see it's quite loose, but what is stuck down and will stick down, I'll use a small handy vac to vacuum up the rest. Now the ballast here is two types of, well, it's an Australian brand ballast from Chuck, but you can use whatever your choice you wish to use, whether it's Woodland Scenics or another one. Typical sort of method of spooning it on, brushing it through. Now I've used two types of ballast there. I've used a typical HO scale ballast, as you can see here in the spoon, in the bowl, sorry, with the spoon, and also a finer, as you can see in there. It's more like a almost an N scale ballast, or up here in Australia we call it a road base or a fine gravel, which I've also used here in the car park, which will be behind a little platform, and I will be putting some here at the end of the building when that goes into place. Also, I've finished off the platform there. As you can see, it's all tidy up now. The foam in the back has been plastered over and coloured accordingly. Okay, we're back here after ballasting, adding soil to the layout, and I've actually started putting down some static grass, as you can see here. Now, static grass, you can either buy one of the knock static grass applicators, you can buy a fly swatter and convert one yourself, or I have my homemade jobby here, and that seems to do the job. I use a ion B generator inside that to, or negative ion generator inside it to provide the charge. Now the grasses I'm using to start with is this knock wild grass, which is 6mm, and Woodland Scenics over here, wild honey and light green. So the grass I've put down now, as you can see here, along the edge of the cutting, and also between the rails is the yellow grass. Now that's to represent some dry grass along the edges of the embankments and what have you, which is quite typical here in Australia. I can imagine overseas, you know, you get some sort of similar effect, but it may be, you know, more rainfall means greener grass and what have you. So next stage, I'm going to put down some of the green grass, or the light green grass, with less wild grass, less yellow grass in it, and also a mix of a darker green grass. I'll just step over here and grab the grass, which is a burnt grass. I also do have a lot lighter green grass. I can't remember who manufactured it. It could be Knock, it could be Hecky, it could be anybody, but I've got that there, and I'll use that sparingly throughout the layout, just around you know, the bottom of this retaining wall over here beside the bridge. Little gullies, I've created a little gully down in here, a little bit of a drainage gully, so that's where the greener grass will be scattered. The way I do that is just paint 100% PVA straight onto the landscape. As you can see, just in these corners here, I've got little dabs down there, and I've actually, see if we can focus that, yep, there we go, you can actually see some grass in those dabs. Now don't forget, wood glue dries clear, you won't see the white once it's cured. Now areas up here along this top of this hill here, I've already put in patches of yellow grass. I'll go through, paint more PVA down and apply the next layer of the greener grasses in around that. Down along the bottom here, it'll be a dry grass, so it'll be 50-50 light green, yellow, wild honey grass down through the bottom. Okay, well, onwards and upwards, let's go. Well, it's been 12 hours since the last video I took, and the PVA glue has all dried under the static grass. I've just completed this section over through the back here. Now, as you can see on the front here, I go through and dab some PVA down first and put the taller yellow grass. Now that's a mix of 12mm and 6mm yellow grass, just to represent some of the taller dry grass. I've gone also followed by a splattering of straight PVA. Now to get the PVA up close to the other grass there, what I've done is use like the ballast mix, water, PVA, touch of detergent, and I can flow that in under the grasses there to create a fuller depth to the grasses. So you've got the taller grasses standing up through the greenery or the subgrass, and it certainly does make a difference. As you can just see down through here, you can see some of the yellow grasses poking up, the drier grasses, and that's the effect we're looking for. As you can see, I use quite a dull looking grass, which is reminiscent of New South Wales in Australia. So I can imagine in the States, you know, if you've got pine trees and all that, you wouldn't have much grass under them. The UK, a little bit more rainfall than we do over here in Australia, so you'll be using a lot greener grass. Anyway, I'll get this section done and we'll go on from there. Just a little trick here to get patches of green grass into the yellow grass is take a piece of paper, just fold it, rip a random hole or holes into it, and just lightly lay on top of the grass you've already done. Now I've got some fairly green grass, you can see a little bit in the bottom there, which is a lot greener than what I've been using, and I'm going to put that in the static grass applicator and just sprinkle on random patches while the understory is still wet, or the baseboard is still wet with PVA. And we'll see how we go. With all the static grass done now, and all the light green patches thrown in, as you can see through here, there's just random patches of light green grass. I'm going to go through and put in the weeds. Now, as you can see, I've already done this end up here, and it's just randomly patched in weeds throughout the layout. Now I haven't done this major area through here or along the embankment here. Now what I do use is woodland scenics, underbrush, coarse turf light green, some fine turf, and of course PVA in my well, it's not tomato sauce or ketchup, it's the ballast glue that I mix up. If your static grass is still wet, you can actually sprinkle down some of the fine turf to create this lower looking weed here, like a clover or such. If it's not, just allow your grass to dry off for a little while, and then use the ballast mix, just soak a little area and sprinkle the tufts on top. Now they may require a little bit more glue, especially the coarse turf and the underbrush over the top. Just use your ballast mix, dribble it over the top, give it a couple of hours, and that'll sit tight. Okay, I'm going to progress with that and put a few weeds in through this area. Okay, as you can see, put all the weeds in place. The trick about weeds is just go random. Don't set them out like they're like books on a bookcase. Just make them all random, here, there, everywhere. That's the way weeds grow. Oh, don't forget they also grow in clumps, and they tend to spread by wind. So where you find weeds, you'll find them within a you know, a range sort of thing, you know, a couple of metres apart from each other. The other thing I've started on is the grass in between the sleepers. Now, it's the yellow grass again, the dry grass, which you'd expect, unless you're in a high rainfall area. Now, the trick is here is use the ballast cement, water, PVA, dabber detergent, and just dribble it onto the track. Now, make sure you wipe the sleepers clean of the glue before you apply the static grass, because as we know, grass doesn't grow on wood. It can grow across wood, but it doesn't actually grow on wood. So keep that in mind. Now, that's just been applied with the static grass applicator. I'm using about a 4mm thick, or 4 to 6mm thick grass, or tall grass, and you can see the sort of effects you get. I'll just look down the line. There we have it. Next up, we'll be putting the buildings in place, and I'll glue them down. I've got the wall up on the end now, permanently fixed. And the only other little thing I've got to do now is to put the water tank on the little station building here. Once that's done, set it into place, and all around the feet here, I'll throw in some grasses and what have you under there. Okay, onwards and upwards. Cheers. Here we are with the scenery done. As you can see, I've put a lot of weed growth up around the, you'd say the pathway of the bridge up there, and also a lot thicker weed at the base of the cutting and along the retaining wall where it'd be a little bit shadier, a little bit more moisture content built up there. Now those taller grasses you see down the bottom are 12mm grasses, just a little dab of wood glue PVA down the bottom, and just stand a few grasses up in them. Just take a little pinch, stand them up. Before they fully set, just tease them out with like a toothpick or what have you. There's still a few little additions I've got to do the layout, like along the base of the building here, and also the platform underneath the canopy here. It's just to fill in that gap down through there with some ballast, tidy it up a little bit. Now, I'm happy with the way the grass has come up between the rails and the sleepers and what have you. That's not too bad at all. The building's now firmly sit in position, so I can finish that off through there. Now, the gravel area is over here, and the other one up by the station here. What I have done, I should say, is taken a little bit of weathering powder, or if you haven't got weathering powders, just use chalk pastels. And I've picked the colour out that's pretty similar to the colour of the soil that I've got on the layout here, and just dusted it over the top and rubbed it in with my finger into the gravel surface there, just to give that worn look, like the earth's coming up between all the stones. You can also see around the base of the building here a lot more weeds and all that. You can imagine, you know, early morning, the dew running off the building, settling down and feeding anything that grows under there where moisture would collect under a building as such. You know, the sun doesn't shine down on there, so you're going to have a little bit more moisture. The water tank has been an addition onto this side of the station building shed, and again more grasses placed down the bottom, taller grass where you'd expect the water to flow from the water tank over, and just keeping the ground nice and wet there. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the scenery. I will be putting other things in, such as line side fences, you know, along the top of the cutting up here, perhaps down along the rail through here, and also up along this embankment. That'll all happen in due course. What I'll probably end up doing is either using a I-beam or a H-beam, painted up rusty, a few holes drilled into it, and just feed a very thin wire through it to represent like a cable fence or a post and wire fence. And yeah, maybe a tree or two, maybe not so much down here in the foreground, but definitely along this embankment up here I might throw a tree or two as well, maybe a little bit of farmyard junk. I don't want to overcrowd the layout. Sometimes overcrowding makes the layout look too busy, so you want to be a little bit reserved in that sort of thing, I think, and just to create that real effect. Anyway, I'm going to get on with this, and I'll post up a few more photos as we go along, and yeah, see you soon.